Rust Console has changed, and you probably don't even know it. The game we once played from beta for the first maybe 5 wipes is a game that we're never going to see again. And surprise, surprise, this isn't actually even about cheaters or anyone playing on devices. This is actually about the gameplay, the performance, the updates that have come to the game, and how overall the game has changed in the last year and a half. So Rust Console was released of May 2021. It was first released in the early access in December of 2013, which was obviously the PC version, and then it hit console. Surprise, surprise, we saw Rust Console come before GTA 6, and if you don't know, GTA 6 trailer is going to be dropping early December as well. Rust was a game that's all about survival. I say was because I wouldn't say it is now, especially with PC Rust and how that's working now. It just doesn't look like a survival based game or a hardcore survival based game. It looks like it's just made for beginners. In the first few wipes in the early access, in the early time you had to play this game, whether you started from not having any knowledge about Rust or you had knowledge prior, the game was all about surviving and who could last the longest. That was the flex that Rust Console had in its early days of being out. And the more people played it, the more people gained experience of raiding, PvP, comms between each other, running monuments, and basically just gaining the overall experience on the game and game sense. It slowly turned from being able to last the longest to just raiding everyone that you can as fast as you can and being more predictable. I would say the game's so predictable in this day and age of how it's played 2 years later. You got people that are asking you to counter launch, counter airfield, people saying come online us, you know, there was hardly any of that at the early days of Rust Console being released in May 2021. If someone was going to raid you whether you're on or off, they just would. And if someone was going to counter launch or counter airfield, they just would. You wouldn't need to message, you'd just see people turn up. You can call it gear feed, you can call it whatever you like. I'll always remember though that CNQR Moo at the time said this game is going to change forever, watch it become different to whatever it was prior to this. And this was only 3 to 4 months ago he had said this, and this is where it kind of all changed for me. And although cheating was still a big thing at this time, there was one thing that was always a graft to get up, and that was your base. That was, you know, your living space, how you're going to play this game, where you're going to keep all your loot. And when Tease or Farming 2.0 was introduced to Rust Console, that all changed, because Tease, if you don't know, make it more OP to gain resources in a faster amount of time. You have around 20 minutes to gain wood, go on a scrap run, go hit some nodes. You have 3 different tiers of teas. You have ore teas, scrap teas, wood teas, and you can have basic, advanced, and pure ore teas or scrap teas and wood teas. You know, they completely changed the game and how we would play it. The big bases you would see on servers, whether it be day 1 or day 5 of wipe, you'd look and just be like, what the hell? This is a huge group we're up against. These are grafters, these are people we've got to watch out for, keep our base secured as well, because they may offline to get more resources. Looking at big bases for our team CNQR at the time, you know, that was our way to gauge how a team played and how much effort and time they put in to the game, and if it was to match us or exceed us. You know, we uploaded a video on November 2021 saying biggest base on console Rust, and it was a mammoth. Like literally we had people joining the server. This is when we weren't known. We had people joining up the server just to look at the base and be like, what the hell? Because they'd seen it on TikTok, they'd seen it on YouTube, and they just went on. The server at the time was Pizza EJ. And my god, did people farm for that base. And now you can get that base up in, you know, a couple of hours if you have a fast builder. Like you can get the materials so easily and make bases of this stature, this big, so quickly than you could. And of course it's, you know, it's fun to get bases up and, you know, get the resources quick, but it kind of takes away the feel of a hardcore survival based game. You're pretty much playing like a 2 times on a vanilla server with the teas, and it is fun, don't get me wrong, and it's a lot easier to get bases up, but I just, you know, I feel like the survival based hardcore feel of the game kind of went when teas were introduced. So now everyone has big bases. You can't really gauge how big a group is, because you could have like a 4-man build a huge base, upkeep it because the farm is just good around your area on the server, on the map, and not to mention the node spawn fix. Like D11 just were like, you know what, we're tired of people moaning about where nodes are. They literally just had a field day of planting nodes. The node spawn rate is insane. There's one wipe specifically that stands out to me when I looked on an island of snow and there was about 20 nodes in front of me. 20 nodes. That's as much I probably collected on one farm run than I ever have. 20 nodes back in the day probably would have, you know, been like 2 farm runs I would have had instead of 1 in a space of like 5 minutes. It's insane, the spawn node fix that they done on top of the T's. It's just crazy. The thing is with Rust in general and Rust Console is that the more updates you get, the more you're straying away from the hardcore feel of what this game once was, a survival based game. The more stuff as introduced gameplay wise is good, because I feel the game would fail if these updates didn't come, because everyone asks for these updates, you know, rightfully so. The updates are fun, more gameplay, more content for you to create. However, just having that feel of a hardcore survival based game, it didn't last long enough. I felt the game truly changed, in my opinion, as well as, you know, other people's opinions, when Ortiz came to the game. And now with 2 to 3 times servers, solo duo trio servers, we're not gonna see the same game as we once did 2 years ago. And I want to know, what do you guys think about that? Do you like how Rust was 2 years ago? How hardcore it was to survive. It wasn't just PvP, because you had to keep your base up, you had to do the other things and run monuments. You didn't really have time to do PvP in as much. Whereas now you can get a base up within a couple of hours and then PvP, you know, your way into the night kind of thing. Let me know your thoughts. Do you like how Rust was 2 years ago, or do you prefer how Rust is right now? Again, thank you for all the support. 800 subscribers is pretty crazy, considering I've been kind of going hard on the uploads for the last 2 months. And it takes people, you know, maybe years to get to 1,000 subs. So for me to hopefully hit it within 2023, that's my goal, to get 1,000 subs in 2023. That would just be an honor, and thank you for all the support you give me. Leave your comments down below, let's have a conversation about it. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.